Do you want your Connect System's 800D Plus to be able to announce zones and channels? Kind of like this?
Moncure, Northeast Park VHF, K4EG Swepsonville, DMR repeaters, NCPRN Goldston Echo Test, NCPRN Goldston PRN2, DMR Simplex, DMR Simplex UHF3, NOAA Weather Radio, Weather Channel 6.
If that's the case, then stand by and we'll show you how. All right, well, I guess I'll go ahead and start this thing off. Go over a little bit of PowerPoint first, just to kind of give you an idea. Trying to figure this out. I've never used it before. You give me a second here. Present. All right. So as you can see on the PowerPoint, there are basically 5 steps that I've come across, and Jerry can correct me if I'm wrong, to set up the feature. This feature we're talking about obviously is the Connect System's 800D plus the voice prompts on it. And what got me involved in this was at work we use Viper radios, and I wanted to set my radio up as closely to a Viper radio as I can because that's what I'm used to. So we can set up voices or zones and channels. So the 5 steps are: first, you create a WAV file for each zone and channel, minimize the size of each WAV file, you convert the WAV files to an FV file, then you load the FV file into the radio, and then you use a CPS to assign the voice file to the channel. So the first step, we're going to create the WAV file. And what Jerry had originally suggested doing was just record your voice with some kind of a recording program. But I found it easier to use a text to AI and just convert the file that way. And the file I used, the program I used was Narrowkeep. It's an online program. You can do like a certain number of those for free, and then you have to pay for it. So I just went ahead and paid for it. But I found that the voice to AI is the easiest option for me. And there's several different voices that I found, and the most natural one to me I sounded was Jack. Some of the other ones just getting to pronounce things right. So we go to the Narrowkeep, and I will bring that up here.
How much was it, Chris, to pay?
You pay for X number of conversions. I think it was like $9 or $10, I think, for the one I have.
Okay.
And you get so much. It's all AI, so you get so much per. I'd have to look it up and see. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it made a pretty good sounding. And I'll show you here. And it made a pretty good sounding voice. Let me figure out how to show that screen on here. And again, I'm sorry, I've never used this program before, so it's a little bit. Oh, here we go. Give me a second here, guys. Sorry. Okay, so Narrowkeep. I have mine set to English American. The voice I used again was Jack. And basically all you do is just go into the script box, you type in whatever you want. So you want like zone 1. And then you can do a preview of it. And
zone 1.
I don't know if you can hear that on your end, but it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then go ahead. Who had a question?
Yeah, not a question. I noticed there's something in there that said speed. I'd like to see what happens if you actually increase the speed.
Let me see. So the speed I have is normal. I can go to fast.
Yeah, try see how fast you can go.
Zone 1.
That sounds about the same as before.
Yeah, let's go to custom. I'll go to the fastest.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, not upload. I'm sorry. Preview.
Zone 1.
So maybe it doesn't make a difference until you save the file, create the actual file.
It was slightly quicker, I think.
Okay.
It was, but not a lot. The reason why, I've asked is because one of the issues is that if you really have a lot of zones that you want to record, you're going to run out of memory. So by having anything shorter, it'll obviously take less memory.
And Jerry, what I did to overcome that was once I did that, I went into the program that you had showed me, and I actually set it down to 8,000 hertz, and which was the next step I was going to show. But I went to the 8,000 hertz and the 8-bit, and it cut it in half and set it to basically telephone quality instead of full quality.
Right.
Jerry, do we know what happens if you do run out of memory in the radio? When you try and upload the code plug, does it crash, or do things just not work?
To be quite honest, it would take hours and hours to do that much data before it ran out of memory.
Okay.
So you're talking about probably like 900 different channels, all
Right.
Different.
And so then the next step I would just, you would go and create the audio. And you don't get charged until you actually create the audio file. So, oops. Let's see. Create audio.
Chris, did you actually use just zone 1, or did you actually put in the names of the zones? So, because I'm liking this, because if I'm driving down the road and I don't want to change a zone, I can hear it and say, I live in Cincinnati, so it can say Cincinnati, it can say Dayton as I scroll through my zones.
Right. You can name it whatever you want. I just use zone 1 as an example.
Did you name yours with the city or the name of the zone that you used?
I have mine set up by all local things. So it's like DMR, analog, so on and so forth, as far as what the zones are. That's how I have mine separated.
Okay.
Zone 1.
Okay, so yeah, that's a little faster when you actually compile the file there. And then of course you just download the file to wherever you want to save it. And in this case, I'm going to go to.
And this is when you get charged when you download it.
When you actually compile it, yeah, is when you get charged.
Okay.
You get, like I said, you get so many for free, and I'm willing to make, if anybody wants, I'm willing to make the voice tags for you. It's not a problem. I am ready.
Be careful what you
Wish for.
Yeah.
A bunch of channels, a bunch of zones.
Yeah. Somebody give you 100 channels, you're going to spend hours.
Yeah.
Well, okay, within reason. Let's say within
I'm
reason.
not going to do that to them.
Yeah, this is actually what will help me on the 800D Plus project, because I already did it, but I used my own voice and I didn't think I did a very good job. So this will do a better job than what I could do.
Very clear.
Yeah, it is. The only issue you might get, if you try to put in some stuff which is not easily determined by the program about what it is, some special terminology may not work might not work too good.
Right.
Yeah, you have to go with phonemes or something, try to do it phonetically.
Right. For example, some of the other voices, when I was playing with the voices on the Narrowkey, some of the voices couldn't say Auxcom right. So I'm like, yeah, no, we're not going to use that one.
I would use the word ox.
Yeah.
Oxcom. I could probably do that.
So then, okay, so I'm just going to save this here. Which presents something else. Window. Share. Okay, so there's the file. There's the file that I just made. I just named it Zone 1. And if you open it up, you'll still hear it on there. So then at that point, we'll go to the next step, which is the using the wave pad. And Jerry, I think they're charging for WavePad too, because I didn't see a way to use it for free anymore.
Oh, the one I have, I think
Yeah,
it's
the NCH.
$9 or $49 or something like that. They
Yeah.
seem to have us half price sales about every few months.
Okay.
Now, so you're aware, if you do try your own program, for that, not all of these programs apparently work correctly. They don't convert to the into the voice file correctly. The people that that program I used, it took me about a month before I finally got them to understand that their stuff, even though it worked on Microsoft's thing, it didn't work in ours because their details of the file wasn't correct. Mine
Right.
is mistake, but it just means that just be aware that not every program might work right, even though
Right.
it's to work on
And
web.
and honestly, NCH is the only one that I've seen that I saw that would actually even do it right. So then for the next, I'm just going to take the file, I'm going to drag it over here to the NCH window, and you can go as far as trimming the extra on here, trimming the extra space off to make your file smaller, but that's a whole lot to demonstrate on mine. But the biggest thing you want to go to is down here at the bottom where it says sample rate. Click on that, and then select 8,000, and that converts it to 8,000 hertz. Going to convert it, and then convert it again. And then you go to File, Save As, and I'm just gonna call it the same thing, and it'll overwrite that file. And yes, and what's it under use?
Let's see.
Seminar voice editor is another application.
Yeah, you probably
Oh,
know
I know
something.
it's media player. Okay, let's try again. Okay, and this window that just popped up, this is where you want to be careful. This is where you want to look for. You want 8,000 hertz mono and 8-bit integer. It has to be an 8-bit file. And what that'll do is that'll cut the size of the file down nearly in half. And then you save it. And then you can hear the voice sounds differently now. It's not quite as clear, but it still works for the radio. So that's cut that.
We're not hearing the voice because it must not be outputting to your speaker.
Oh, okay. Then I will do it this way. You hear it's a different tone.
Yeah, we're still not hearing it.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let's try this.
And what's the cost of this program here, the conversion program?
Yeah, I
It
haven't.
used to be free, but
The thing's only free if you use it for just a
couple of times.
a few times. But anyway, it's something between $29 and $49 from my recollection.
Okay.
And they seem to have, they seem to have sales every so often. So
Because they have all these different ones. WavePad's $34.99.
Yeah.
Without the VST plugins. And you only need VST if you're doing like super high end stuff, but yeah, it was $34.99.
Or you can pay $4.44 a month if you want it for a short time.
Yeah, that too. So anyway, so then you get come on, share.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
I saw you have the master's version, but you don't really need that. Just the standard will do the job.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks.
And honestly, I didn't even know if there was a difference between the versions. Let's see. All right. So basically what you come up with when you're done with all those is you have a list of files, and you have to name them like these, like you see. 00 analog. Well, mine is analog. This is how mine was set up for this particular demo. So 00 analog zone, DMR zone, and then analog channel 1, 2, 3, 4, DMR channel 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's basically that's how you would set it up. I set up the first two records as the zones, and then the rest of them are for the actual channels themselves. Now my personal code plug, it's a whole lot more because I put more stuff in it, but just for a basic idea of how to do it.
And just for information, if you have over 100 zones, then you'll do 000 underline or 001 and so forth. If you have to exceed 100.
So you do, but these are the specific names you need to use.
No, the only thing that you need is the 00, 1 in the front.
Okay.
The rest of the thing could be whatever you
Whatever
like.
you call it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I still haven't figured out why that one zone, Jerry's not working, but I'm just going to live with it. There's one, I don't know if it's a bad memory spot on the radio or what, but I've gone as far as trying to, what you said with the software, redoing the firmware and everything, but everything else works fine. So I don't know what's exactly going on with that, but one thing to note, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, when you go to put these into the actual CPS, you have to increase it by 1. So whatever this analog zone would be record 1, record 2, record 3, record 4, so on. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I never really thought about that.
Okay. I mean, that's what I've kind of found to be true, but as far as that goes.
Can you skip 00 and just start with 01, naming them, and then they'd match up?
It will not work from my experience because it'll be like, it'll say the one that's in front of it, ahead of it.
Okay.
Because I think I tried that and it didn't work right. So then let's see. Give me a second here. Hold on. So we've gone through this slide here, recording, how to record it. And then we've gone through the minimize, and I'll give you guys a copy of this if you like this little brief that I made talking about how to use to minimize the file. And it gives you a little bit more information. But also in the files that I gave you the link to, there is a PDF file, which is super helpful as far as one that Jerry had on his website. Okay, so then we've saved the completed file. So now we're going to go on to step 3, convert the files to an FV file. Let me see if I can get this to work. Right. So I'm going to use the same list here. There's got to be a better way to share this. Is that something else?
You can't just share your entire desktop. Oh, okay. Maybe that's oversharing. I don't know. You could maximize Windows and it might work great.
Yeah. Okay. So here's again, I'll show you this. Here's the files that we made after going through that whole process, basically. And I need to load the other file. So stand by. You're going to find a file called, let's close this out, called fixed voice V102.01.
That's in your Google Drive.
Yes. Okay. So there it is. And when you first open it, it's going to look like this. I don't know if you can see that very hopefully you can see it.
Yep.
You're obviously going to want to change it from Chinese to English. And I don't know what that rate means, that rate button means. So I just always leave it the way it is. You click the 3 arrows at the top and find out where you save the files, which in this case is let's see. Seminar voice files. Edit. Oops.
Just for information, if you actually try to compile this file that you see on the screen,
Mhm.
It won't work because you have a zone 1, which is not a legitimate file.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's why it's not. That's why it's not working.
So Jerry, if I could ask you, you're saying if you have more than 100, do they all need to be to start with a 3 integer?
I would expect it to, but I never tried it. I
Okay.
already knew at the beginning I was going to need over 100. So, in fact, the original software wouldn't work over 99.
Okay.
So there you've got the files that you've made in the compiler, and then at that point you just click on translate, and we're going to call that seminar. Oh, okay. So I sent it to my desktop that time. Okay. And for the sake of demonstration, that's what it's going to come up with. It'll be whatever you name it, .fv is the file.
And it's got every one of those voices. It's now it's taken those 10
Right,
individual files and put it into one file.
right. And it's made it as the one file. But again, like Jerry was saying, if you put any files in the same directory as these files, it won't open it and it won't compile it,
Okay.
which I knew that, but oops. Okay. And then at that point, you would go to your CPS. Come on. And then you're going to go to tools. You're going to go to load defined fixed voice data, not the other one. You got to go to the defined one. Make that easier to see. And then again, you go to the little 3 arrow button there on the right-hand side. You go to find your file. And then you open it. And then you just hit OK, and it'll write it to the radio. I don't have my radio hooked up right now, but you write it to the radio at that point. So again, it's tools, load, define, fixed voice data, find the file, hit OK.
So this
It's
does
kinda
not
like-
import it into the code plug. It actually sends it to the radio.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then once you've got that done, you would turn, like again, it would turn off your radio, turn it back on. One thing to remember that it took me forever to figure out is if you don't unplug your programming cable from the computer, it's going to turn out the audio from that the audio output from the radio, and you won't hear the actual voices. And it took me forever to figure out what was causing that.
Wait a minute, I didn't quite catch that. How do you avoid that?
So if you leave your programming cable plugged into the computer after you do that, and the radio resets, it's not going to announce the voice channels for some reason, because the the programming cable still plugged in
Oh, okay.
to the
it's using
radio
COM
or
port.
to the computer.
Okay. So
And
just
I was trying to figure out, I thought it wasn't working for the longest time. Then one time I unplugged my thing, and then it started working. I figured out, okay, that was what it was. It was the programming cable. And then once you're in your code plug, you're going to go to, I think it's UI indication. Yes. And then there's going to be two. Can you see this? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's going to be two things you need to make sure of: zone voice enunciation and channel voice enunciation. Both of those need to be checked. And then at that point, you go back into the conventional where you do your zones and your channels. So for this particular example, I'm going to go into the analog zone, and you're going to set that one to record 1. Again, you're going one record past what the file name is. So that record 1 would be the 00_ analog zone, I think is what I called it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the digital zone. You set that to record 2, because that's going to be 00_1 as far as what your files were. Then you go to your channels, and then that's when you start filling out your channels, like your normal channels. So on this example, it's down, where is it at?
Towards the top. Look, third one down.
Oh,
the
yeah.
top.
Yes, thank you. So that would be record 3. Analog channel 2 would be record 4.
So you're going to need make a little cheat sheet, right? A little
Yeah.
key to know which record to pick.
Right. Record 3 would be record 4. And record 4 would be, or channel 4 would be record 5. And the same thing with the digital channels. So that would actually start at 6. Then 7, 8, 9. Does that kind of make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
And so that once you do that and you write the code plug to it, reset your radio, theoretically it should work. Those are the 5 steps. And then, like I said, it took me a while, and there were some like things that I had to do and just kind of mess around with it until I got it to work. But it was a pretty fun experiment.
You've done a lot of trial and error that hopefully we don't need to do. We're going
Right.
to learn from all your experimenting. I'm not going to go out and look for another sound editor. I'll use WavePad.
Yeah.
But just a suggestion,
Yes.
on the original file you had where you had the, where it shows the file name and, or should say the file number plus your description,
Mhm.
take a screenshot of that. And then when you're doing this thing here, just have 2 windows, one for the shows the screenshot and one, for the CPS.
Oh
And then-
yeah, that's kind of what I did. I did have that
Good
set
point.
up that way.
Yeah, that would work.
But yeah, I mean, you can hear it. I'll show you how mine sounds when you change it and all. So
DMR repeaters. NCPRN Goldston logo.
so it tells you the zone first and then the first channel. And
Oh,
then when
okay.
you change channels, whoa, don't be crazy.
DMR simplex. DMR simplex national calling frequency. DMR simplex VHF1. DMR simplex VHF2. DMR simplex UHF1. NOAA weather radio.
And
Weather channel 4.
so that's
Well,
kind of
I'll
how
tell
it.
For a blind ham, Jerry,
Yeah.
you need to mark the hell out of this, because right now a lot of blind hams just they're the big box, the big guys, Kenwood's always been the best for visually impaired hams, but this is exactly what they would love, and probably why they've shied away from DMR in some cases. I mean, they
Yeah,
talk.
we actually tried to market to the blind people. We had one blind person, help us to say, what would you want? And we try to do it. And the end result is we got sale of 2 radios out of that.
Well, I'm not blind, so maybe I don't know the market as well as I think I do.
I mean,
But,
yeah, I would hope that you'd get more blind people be interested, but apparently they weren't.
but this is just kind of my trial and error. I'm not by any means an expert, so don't take it that way. But this is just what I figured out by doing, as far as trying to get it working. And I spent hours and hours and hours trying to get it to work. So
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, it's just keeping my eyes on the road, use it in my car and just listen to it and not have to look away. Even with the BFD, that's pretty easy to look at, but if you can just hear it.
yeah. Well, for example, some of the ambulances, or all the ambulances, like most of them, when I change channels, because we have to change between 2 channels when we're driving, most of them have a voice enunciation. But I also know that when I'm driving, I know that, 1 click is Chatham Hospital, 2 clicks is UNC Hospital, so on and so forth for the ones that don't. But it's really nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
So
just for reassurance, for confirmation.
Yeah.
So I have another question, a little bit off topic, but I think you answered one of my questions indirectly. Is it bad to have it connected to your computer? I have it as a base station in my shack. I leave it connected to my computer all the time, and I've noticed sometimes it acts kind of weird, and I think maybe it's because it's when my computer's on and it's connected to the computer, but I never really thought about it. So is it improper to have the USB programming cable connected all the time, or is there a problem with that?
There's no problem other than the fact that it disables the voice enunciation.
Okay. I think that's what I've been observing, is sometimes it talks and sometimes it doesn't.
Well,
and I never really put 2 and 2 together as to whether
what you will find is when you first turn on the radio, you'll hear those, turn on beeps, irrespective of the cable plugged in or not.
Okay. I think I answered my, I solved one of my riddles that was kind of bothering me. It was not really a problem, but it was kind of bugging me why it was behaving differently under different conditions.
A bigger question I have is, why do they do that in the first place? I never got an answer on that. Or why do they care if you hear a voice?
Yeah.
I just have to feel like it's like what's using some serial port, maybe. I don't know.
No, there's nothing in there that would affect the voice.
Huh. It's odd.
Well, I mean, I think I have my computer set up to think that a USB cable is a speaker for like WinLink, because it sends audio that way, but I don't know why it would go the other way.
No,
you're just trying to be extra, Kevin. That's all.
My guess is somebody in China thought at one time that was a good idea, and from then on they always did it that way.
Okay, well, I'm gonna disconnect from my computer as a trial. When we're done, it solves that problem.
So
I don't want to, Jerry, I don't want to ruin your BFD sales, but it seems like once you get this set up and working well, you really wouldn't need to look at the screen very often, unless you need to make some other optional setting. So, I've got this at the little stock head here, and I'm going to try it. I want to try it and see how it goes and how much I need the BFD. I just got this permanently in my car.
Yeah.
BFD.
Let me give you a reason why you would probably still want to use the BFD. Maybe not your specific, purpose, but good example would be the code plug from the Papa Group in Southern California. They have around 4,000 channels. You really want to record 4,000 channels?
Well, we'll see. I'm not going to have that many, but maybe we'll see once I get into it. Just if I run out of energy doing the ones I do have, we'll see.
Yeah, it takes quite a long time just to do one channel. I mean, it's not like it's in 5 seconds. It's when I did it myself, I probably spent an average of probably around 4 minutes per channel.
Yeah. I found that text to speech to be extremely helpful though, as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to listen to my dumb voice all day long either. So,
So Jerry, you did put out a an email. I really appreciate your emails you send out to your community. Just kind of sometimes I feel like I'm in your head for a little bit as you kind of put your thoughts on there, especially with the M17 project. But you showed a radio that your vendor has with a bigger screen. Kind of, it looks like a more modern looking radio. It looks like a Hytera, quite frankly. Do you see them coming out with that form factor as a revision to the next generation of the current CS800, CS 800D and such?
Well, as far as the CS800, that's not a big deal. It's pretty much done if you want to use it for that purpose. But the ham community really don't want a single channel, a single band radio. Yeah. They both seem to want dual band. So the answer is, I did ask the manufacturer to look into it about making that particular radio dual band. Also, at the same time, I'd have them put in some other features, such as the ability to do M17 and have a built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. In fact, everything already has Bluetooth and GPS, so they just have to add the Wi-Fi.
Is the GPS working on the?
Yeah, I think it works on the commercial version of the radio. Yeah. The reason why we never did it on the amateur, to be useful, it has to do APRS. That's a little too much work for them to do for something that probably won't sell very much.
Yeah.
But for the M17 project, that's being done by the ham community, and if they want APRS, there'll be people who will be willing to do it.
Yeah.
Chris, I want to say that I want to follow up on Andrew's comment and Jerry's comment about the visually impaired community. I can see why they wouldn't buy it, because they wouldn't buy the radio without an interface like someone like you to be able to work them through it.
Right.
So I would follow up with, if you're interested in playing this out, check with some of the visually impaired organizations and see if they have some kind of training facility, modules or whatever that you could then maybe market your services through.
Yeah.
But there clearly has to be something in the middle between the radio and what you have learned how to do here and shown us how to do, right? For them to be able to join. So
yeah, or else make it come out of the box that way. Make it work out of the box, one of the two.
Yeah.
Now, the people on in the M17 project has a voice already built into that system.
Yeah,
and they did a better job than we did. I guess they had 20/20 hindsight to see what doesn't work real good. So one of the things they have is you don't actually have to record anything. It just will, it'll has a text to voice converter. So you can, at least for the blind people, you don't have to do anything. It's already there.
That's great. Good.
Yeah, and I don't know how the Viper system works. The radios, when we get them, are already programmed, but they speak but they're just very generic voices. And it says like, Chatham EMS or whatever, but it's specific to the service, but it's not like, it's a pretty generic voice, pretty computerized.
Yeah.
I imagine Jonathan Bell could tell us, because he does a lot of the programming on Chatham's. For the people who aren't in North Carolina, Viper's a North Carolina system started by the Highway State Patrol and has been adopted by first responders. It's a private radio network, a digital network. It looks a lot like DMR. They have their own towers and they're more resilient than what we typically have up as ham radio repeater owners.
Yeah, it's if I'm not mistaken, it's 900 megahertz trunking, digital trunking. I know it's trunking. I don't know if it's 800 or 900 megs. Do you know, Ed?
I think it's 900 megahertz. What was the question? Is it 900 megahertz?
It's 800, 700, and 800.
Oh, 7 and 8. Okay. I know it's trunking in, but I didn't know if it was 8 or 900. So,
But it's probably P25 too, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah, P25 trunked.
Yeah.
Tier 1. Tier 2.
250 odd towers around the state. I can't remember the number, but it's over 200. So that's the world Chris lives in. So yeah, so he wanted to work kind of like that, and this will do it.
Yeah. I just thought it was a neat feature and tried to implement it and then spent hours and hours and did it and finally got it to work 99%.
So Jerry,
So
I'm on the, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. I've already talked.
Jerry, you were saying you were going to get a dual band CS7000. Is that what you were looking at?
Well, actually looking into that also.
Oh, okay.
But we're talking about the new mobile radio the manufacturer came out with. That would be,
okay.
so
Yeah.
Here's it's not, it may not be obvious, but if you take a look at M17, in order to make it useful, you need a screen better than 2 lines. And that's the problem with this 800 or 800D, radios. The other one is pretty much like any other radio where it's colored multi-line display, and it works just fine on M17. So
No, put me down for one of the dual band CS7000s.
I've
Put me on the waiting list.
in my opinion, in order for them to do it, they're going to have to design an RF power amplifier using discrete transistors. Right now, all of their mobiles are based upon one of those Mitsubishi power amplifier modules, and they work great, but mechanically they're hard to put into that chassis, especially if you want to put a second one of them in. There's just no place for it. So
Jerry, can you just give us a quick rundown of the M17 while you're talking about it to kind of describe what it is?
Yeah, M17 is a format, something like NXDN. It's 4-level oral fusion. It's a 4-level FSK like all these digital formats. It's not time multiplex like DMR. So each frequency is a single channel, as opposed to DMR where you have 2 channels. Okay. But the big thing about M17 is the entire project was designed by the amateur community, and as well as the programming itself, which means that everything is open source. So if you want to make any changes and you know how to do programming, you can do the changes yourself. Or if you want to make some change, if you don't think the specification is good, speak to the people, who is controlling that project and tell them your thoughts and see if they'd be willing to make changes. You try that with DMR, you're going to get nowhere with all the manufacturers. Most of them won't even speak to you, let alone make the changes. So, right. So for the amateur community, it's a perfect radio.
How's the audio quality on it, Jerry? How's it sound?
According to the people who have used it, it's better than DMR.
Really? Okay.
And the reason why it would be is strictly because of the vocoder they're using, which again is open source, designed by an amateur, and there's no licensing fee for it.
So on the repeater side, would that just be a software upgrade, or would it be completely hardware? Or
no,
do you know?
On a repeater, it's already done. If you take a look at the MMDVM module, if you put that into the repeater, it already has M17.
Okay.
So yeah, no big deal for that.
So it's not like pulling a whole machine down and putting a new one in its place.
No.
Okay.
If your repeater has the MMDVM module, then I just have to have the latest firmware.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So Jerry, I've got a CS800D Plus. I've not even taken out of the box yet because really my CS800D works fine. Is there much difference in the software between the Plus and just the standard CS800D that you came out with?
Yeah, as of today, the answer is no.
Okay.
But there will be significant changes in the future.
Okay.
I just having a hard time getting the manufacturer to put in some of the stuff that's necessary to do that. So we'll get it. It may be easier to first put into the M17 radio than tell the manufacturer, here's what we want. Just take the source code from there and put it back into your radio.
So Jerry, on the 800D plus, in order to make it dual VFO, would that be a hardware update or just a firmware?
Hardware update.
Okay. So it would be a whole new radio. Okay.
Yeah, it's not feasible. Not enough space to have completely two independent, radios in there. Now,
Gotcha.
the way Anytone does it, they use a single chip direct conversion receiver, and doesn't take up much room. Price is only is less than $2, so it's a great solution. Quality of the receiver isn't very good, but it's doable in most cases. Without the right test equipment, it's even hard to see that there's any difference. But
Right.
where you'll find problems if there's a strong signal nearby, anywhere close to your frequency, the radio will not work. Super Heterodyne, which is what the CS800 and 800D has, those things, you can put something a few kilohertz away, like maybe 5 kilohertz off center frequency, and the radio is going to work just fine, no matter how strong the signal is.
Which if it was dual VFO and you could receive both VFOs at the same time, that would make it the perfect radio in my opinion.
Yeah. But unfortunately, not enough space within that PC board for two independent radios. So it's not that's impossible to do it. What the Japanese have done on these types of radios where they needed more circuitry than can fit, they put two independent printed circuit boards in there. This thing has a single printed circuit board, and I said not enough room for that much circuitry. But if but yes, so in theory you could do it. But then people would complain about it's too expensive.
Right. That's always.
Us hams are a little cheap.
Yeah, but if you want good quality, you just have to use a superhead design, which is what most of the Japanese radios have.
Yeah, Jerry, one of the things I think that we as a hub, especially with DMR, because I'm a huge advocate for DMR and have been since day one, is the complexity in programming. And I would say that RT Systems has done a pretty good job, mainly because if you basically create, and I'll use the term loosely here, code plug for your D-Star radio, they have a really simple format to be able to click and drag it to whatever radio you have. It does its own conversion. It makes it really nice, because I could build out a code plug for my local code plug for my D-Star radios and then click and drag it over to another radio, like my Anytone. Have you been in any conversations or talks with the folks down in Georgia at RT Systems? Because I think it would be awesome if you could give them a radio to play with and have them write, or sell a RT Systems programmer for your radios, because I think it would open up a lot of potential, folks that might not be as overwhelmed with writing a code plug because they're familiar with the RT Systems. Because RT Systems has a really good, if you've looked at it for the Anytone radios, they have a really good D-Star calculator, or DMR calculator they call it, and you can just hit this button, hit where you're at, and it creates the code plug for you. It's a great product. So wow. I just throw that out there because I bought it for my Anytone radios, and it's changed my world. And I'm just kind of left with this kind of Chinese archaic DMR CPS for your radios. I would love to be able to program your radios with an RT Systems program.
So with the RT Systems, does it know what repeaters are nearby?
Yeah. So they're pulling from every database that's out there. Repeater book, repeater, the ARRL's repeater product, even radio reference if you have a subscription there. And with their repeater DMR calculator, it just literally, when I travel, I could write a code plug in 5 minutes for the city I'm going to.
Yeah. One of the things you'll see in the 800D plus is that the thing will know where it is because of the GPS module, and then it'll be able to make its own code plug based upon its location. So you wouldn't have to do that. You just have to button to start. But in order to do that, I need to generate a file system that has something like 12,000 zones and around 64,000 channels. And I'm having a hard time getting the manufacturer to integrate that into a system, even though I designed it for him.
Well,
So-
I mean, RT Systems, like I said, they've already got that built into their $25 program for the Anytone radios, and it seems to work pretty well. You could really build that out.
Yeah, well, that's the key. Is what they're doing is they're using that database to generate the code plug, but you can't really convert a D star to DMR. It's just different.
No, but you're right, but it's for the analog channels because quite frankly, I've fought the digital, kind of prophecy for years and years and years, and analog is still king, in ham radio. It's just I think it's always going to be, and for the most part, it continues to be the kind of the stable horse out there. So I mean, fortunately in Cincinnati we have D Star, Fusion, DMR. We have several flavors of everything, and analog still is probably where most of the activity's at, locally at least.
Yeah. One of the things that was good about the M17 radios, being as it was designed by amateurs, I can set up a channel in M17 in just a few seconds. It was designed specifically to work from the keypad rather than having to have a separate CPS, to create the channels. So again, it's, one of the advantages of that particular format over DMR.
Well, that's why your CS580 I think is the best radio. It's so I wish I mean I'll tell you that radio is, if that came out in dual band, that would literally kick the living crap out of the Anytone 878. But your CS580 is my favorite radio, hands down.
It turns out that it really wouldn't, and the reason for that, you'll find that most amateurs are too lazy to do anything to make a code plug.
Yeah.
So they have to find someone who already has a code plug, and they'll just copy it, and that's all they want to do.
Well, the CS580 has that auto programming feature, kind of, which when I travel, I can put in a frequency and it kind of auto programs the code plug for me, or at least the talk groups it hears. So that's I've always liked.
Yeah. That was one of the features I was putting into the Plus.
Yeah.
Andrew, I appreciate you mentioned that about RT Systems. I own one RT Systems program. I had never seen the DMR calculator in it. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, so it's great. If you go to the YouTube channel, I forget her name, that the owner's wife, they're probably both owners, but she's always at Dayton every year, Xenia, and she does a really good job of putting videos out there. And the DMR calculator was something fairly new. And so they've got it for both of the Anytone 878, 578 radios. And like I said, another program, if you're not familiar, and he just came out with a revision the end of literally on New Year's Eve, was the N0 GSG program out of Kansas City. The gentleman that wrote that, it's a great program to allow you to migrate code plugs from other radios. So if I've written one for the 578 or the 878, it helps me convert it to Connect Systems code plug.
And it was N0 what?
N0 GSG, Golf Sierra Golf.
Yeah, the program is called Contact Manager.
Yep.
Okay.
And I use that, nothing against Jerry's process to upload the database file for, if you want to put in, at least North American hams, their import feature is a lot smoother to use. If you want to update the database of calls and names, their process is far easier than using Jerry's method of CBS files and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a free program. He doesn't. N0 GSG is free. He doesn't charge for that.
I'll check it out. Thanks. So Jerry, this is off the wall question, not really keeping, but I showed this before. Go ahead. Is there something to a mount bracket just for this?
There probably is, but I have no idea who makes it.
Okay.
I would try Lido or one of those people.
Yeah, I haven't found one with them, but maybe I'll just do some Googling on that, because it's not, there is sort of this mount, the way it mounts into the one, into into the body. I mean, if I had some CAD skills, I could probably make my own. Anybody raising hand?
Well, it just take the one off the body of the radio. It pops off. Then you
Well,
can
I did take that off, but it doesn't really have any it doesn't have any standard mounting. I mean,
No,
like,
you have
for
to.
the amps, the AMPS kind of standard
Yeah.
holes.
Yeah,
But Leo seems to be going that way.
every once in a while you see somebody, shows that it's mounted in their car, but I never really went to the details about how they did it. So probably can find something on YouTube or some other place that will show the details of.
A double-sided tape, done.
Well, what I've done with several faceplates like that, I've actually taken just like a small piece of wood, a thin piece of wood, cut it down, screwed the faceplate to that wood, then I can screw that wood to whatever I want to.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking about doing in my car.
Sort of the organic CAD you're doing.
Yeah, or redneck engineering, as I like.
Yeah. That could work.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I have a hard stop at 9, so I'm going to bow out. But thanks, Chris, and thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Good discussion, and I learned some stuff, so that's good. Thanks.
Absolutely. See you, Kevin.
Anybody have any more questions before we end this call for Jerry?
Probably after I try it, but not right now.
Any new radios coming out, Jerry? That I know the Chinese, the Anytone guys have been kicking around that newer kind of updated version of the 878 with dual VFOs or something, and they were supposed to come out this before the end of last year, but that didn't happen. They came out with a different one. Is there any talk of them coming out with that?
I haven't heard of them coming out with anything significant.
Okay.
I really think you've pretty much seen the end of anything significant from Anytone with DMR. They came out with a new radio recently. Was it 167, I think? And that looks just like a stripped down 878 plus.
Oh, the 168.
Yeah.
168. Yeah.
Why do you say that about Anytone? Are they just tired of DMR? Are they moving in a different direction? Or
Yeah, I just don't think they see any money in putting in a few new features. I mean, it would make sense if they did something like maybe combine NXDN or DMR, or M17 and DMR or something. But I don't think they have the ability to do too much in the way of beyond what they already have. They seem to have some good programmers, but they don't seem to have too much in the way of hardware designers that would make it easy to completely make a new radio. Even a good example is their 578. I think it took them from the time they said it's ready till the time they can actually ship it was like 2 years.
yeah.
It took forever. I got a sample, an early version sample, but it still took about 2 years before they can put it into production. I just don't see them spending that much effort or that much money into a new radio.
They missed the boat by not having a remote head. I mean, the Bluetooth microphone is a novelty in my opinion, but I see more people complain about it than brag about it. If they would have made that a remote head radio, they would have owned the market, literally just crushed it.
Yeah, at the time they came out with the radio, I offered to integrate the BFD into their product, but they had no interest. Because you have everything you need there. You have a USB port, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
But that was their choice. Can't do anything about it.
That would address that shortcoming.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, but just maybe they want to do everything in-house.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a question, we didn't even discuss about how much it would cost, how much I would sell it for, or if I'd let them manufacture it. They just had no interest.
Just didn't even get that far.
Yeah.
The not invented here syndrome.
Yeah, and unfortunately with their design, I couldn't do anything to, integrate it into their system without their actual help.
Mhm.
So I didn't even try.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anybody else have any more questions or?
No, I'm excited to give this a try, these voice prompts a try, but no question.
Yeah. Just, one word of caution. The program that I suggested is easy to use after you know how to use it, but it took quite a while before I could figure out how easy it was to use.
Chris made it seem easy. You're talking about the wave pad, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does so much, but you don't need very much.
Right.
Right.
So,
and like I said, it's the only one I did some looking. It's the only one I saw that I could actually do the sample conversion like that I was able to find quickly.
Yeah.
And you uploaded your presentation to that share folder that you shared with us, Chris?
The
PowerPoint,
not yet, but I will after the fact.
Okay, great.
So
yeah.
But like I said, the biggest thing is that PDF file that's in there. Jerry did a great job writing that PDF, and it was extremely helpful. So
yeah, and there are some free programs that you can use that would probably work okay. I didn't after I use that one, I didn't want to spend the time to learn another system.
right.
So
well, WavePad's been out forever, for years and years, and for the longest time it was freeware, but now apparently they want their chunk of the change too.
no, do they? Okay.
So,
I believe they used to be free ones. Maybe they don't exist anymore.
yeah. Well, all right. If nobody has any more questions, I'm going to close out the call.
Thanks, Chris and Jerry, for doing that.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Welcome.
Jerry, thank you again for joining us. We do really appreciate it.
Yep.